Nice seat. Okay, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so these are the official RCC stock questions that me and Abhiram have came up with. So I think there's 12 players predictions, right, Abhiram? So basically,
Yes. Yes.
these are all the basically stock lines that we're talking about. You invest whether it hits the line or you choose not to invest in it if you don't think it's going to happen. So yeah, basically I'll be giving my analysis on basically each sort of like stock like sort of poll you can say whether it's going to hit or whether I don't think it's going to hit for it's specifically the games they play for their own team. So as you know, four of these players will be on core. They will still be core, but they'll be on core, meaning the third player will be released until the draft. But basically, these will only be games that they actually play for their original team. So not the games they play for their an encore team. So just the four games they play specifically for their team. So yeah, starting with Arjun. Will Arjun take 12 wickets in the tournament? So yeah, originally, when I saw this question, I was like, this is a lot because this is around 3 wickets per game to reach this par. And me personally, with Arjun's recent performance, obviously Arjun is an amazing bowler, but 3 wickets per game, I personally believe is a lot. I feel like generally across a 4 game stretch, it's really hard to keep that consistency. Like 3 wickets this game, 3 wickets next game, 3 wickets the game after that, and final game, 3 wickets. I certainly think he'll have 1 or 2 wickets and then 1 or 2 wicket games, which will really like decrease his chances of hitting the par. So overall, for the four matches in a row, hitting a 3 wicket par, I feel like that's gonna be really difficult. And I don't think Arjun will hit this 12 wicket total in the tournament.
So
Next,
category one, I think would be a suggestion to not go for Arjun, right?
yeah, suggestion to not go for Arjun. A lot of these category ones are sort of like high risk, high rewards. They're sort of meant for like, does the team really believe in themselves? Like a lot of these are really high numbers, like numbers you don't normally see. Like 3 wickets a game is a really high par. And then we'll also see another really high par when we move on to Syme. Will Syme score 140 runs in the tournament? So this is 35 runs per game. This is, also believe, is a really hard par. And for Syme, who's also battled some of his inconsistencies. I don't necessarily think that he'll get these 140 runs because I don't think we've regularly seen Simon in any 4 game stretch ever like consistently hit and sort of reach a 140 run par. And if it's a 4 game stretch, Sim has a lot of pressure to sort of carry his team in batting to hit. I feel like he will fumble 1 or 2 games, score like 10 to 20 runs or even less in one of those games. But to maintain a 35 run par for each game across 4 games, I don't think Sim will do it. I certainly think he'll have like 20 run games, 10 run games. He might have one like game where he surpasses the 35 mark, which is 50. But to like, I feel like he's gonna have some games that sort of tank the par, like 10 runs, 20 runs, might even get unlucky below 10. So I don't think he'll be able to maintain that consistency, especially with the amount of pressure he's under across the
And
four
also
games.
the analysis that I've been doing in for this channel. Simon Arjun, I've talked about them a lot for their team. It's basically a one-man army stand, so they have a lot on their plate and a lot of caring to do for their team. So it's a huge dependency for them to accomplish this. It's a little bit tricky, but if you guys do believe that, go for it. But I think suggestion for Surya for Simon would be not to invest, right?
Yeah, not to invest. So finally, we are sort of like itching towards Abhinav interesting one. Will Abhinav take 10 wickets in the
And for
tournament?
Abhinav, if you're looking at Abhinav, Dhruv, Arav, Nikit, these guys are the deals that you find in each category. That means they're in that category, but they're a little bit, off. Arjun's 12 wickets, Abhinav's 10 wickets. It's just for them to be more attracted for players like you to purchase their shares. So it makes it a little bit more easier for Abhinav too. Maybe more investment. We'll have that from Surya. We'll have that from Surya. So what do you think, Surya?
Yeah, I feel like this deal for Abhinav certainly makes it very interesting because, as you guys know, Abhinav is like sort of like noted as a heavy wicket taker more than like a low run mark. Like I feel like he's more considered a wicket taker than somebody who can like keep like in a case where like you need a wicket or you need low runs. I feel like Abhinav would be more of a scenario where you need wickets. I feel like he's more of a wicket taker, you know what I mean? Like instead of like sort of like a keeping the runs low kind of
Keeping the
guy,
runs
like in
low.
tough situations, he's more like just go out there and just get a couple wickets.
Yep.
So yeah, certainly being a wicket taker and with the deal 10 wickets, it'll be very interesting to sort of bid on this number. But again, that would require like sort of switching between 2 wickets and 3 wickets per game.
Exactly.
2 wickets one game, 3 wickets another, 2 wickets another game, 3 wickets another, which is obviously still a really big amount. So this is I will actually say that it's really 50-50 depending on sort of what you think, his matchups based on his like power ups, what situations he's obviously put in. I really think the stock is 50-50. Me personally, I think the par is still way too high. 3 wickets, 2 wickets, 3 wickets, 2 wickets. I feel like that's like a bit difficult. I feel like you'll have some off games. And obviously, if he gets sort of like 1 wicket in one game, it sort of like ruins the spread for the next 3 games. And even if he gets 0 wickets in one game, like sort of people just hitting off him that day, it's a really bad day, then it becomes even harder, 10 wickets in 3 matches. That's sort of like my problem with almost all the wickets in category one. With Arjun's too, like what if he has only 1 wicket, 0 wickets, then that ruins the par for the rest of the 3 games. So we just have to worry about those inconsistencies. I'm gonna say this is 50-50, but for now, since the par is really high, I would not like advise to invest in this stock.
Also, another thing for Abhinav is that in his team there are a lot of wicket takers. You're seeing Ryan coming in, bowling in the first 4 overs, and actually taking wickets as well. So will Abhinav get the chance? Will Jam give him that chance to fully take on the lead for the bowling attack? It's iffy, but I mean, past few matches he's been really growing. Batting, or this time we're taking bowling into account, he's been doing really good. He is an improving player, and I think he's yet to show fully what his skill is. So yeah, 50-50 is definitely there. We'll go on to Rayhan. What do you think about Rayhan?
Rayhan, 35 runs per game. Like I said for Syme, I actually think Rayhan is sort of like in the beginning of the club, he's obviously had a fair share of inconsistencies, but I feel like he sort of overcame the issue.
Overcame
Because
the
as you
issue.
know, in the first few matches, like there's sort of been like zeros across, and then obviously there's been performances like
Yeah.
20, 35, but then he really like evolved into
Yes.
a pretty consistent big hitter batter.
Yeah.
So this is actually a really I think 140 runs is definitely achievable for Rayhan because we've seen across 4 game stretches, we've actually seen him get to 140. We've seen 50 performances back to back, I think, in a couple scrimmages, 50, 30 runs. And I feel like Rayhan, just that consistent X factor, he can sort of hit while also staying on his wicket, which is like something that sort of like I feel like another batsman like Syme has trouble with doing. He can hit, but like having trouble like sort of keeping his wicket. I feel like Rayhan can sort of hit while also keeping his wicket.
That's
So
true.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is certainly interesting. For this stock, I would sort of say there's one more I'm leaning on that you should invest in heavily, which we'll get to next. But certainly you can obviously invest in Rayhan 140 runs based on what you believe. I think, yeah, it's a 50-50 for me. Like instead of Abhinav was more 60-40, but I feel like this is more 50-50. Maybe Rayhan will have like a couple of 20-run games. He might get unlucky and score 10, but it's basically one game that might ruin the whole par. So
Hmm.
it's really like sort of 50-50 for
Yeah.
Rayhan. Yeah.
Vedansh, the next one is also a deal. My apologies for not fonting it differently, but Vedansh is another deal. Two deals you're gonna see in category one for Abhinav, who's a bowler, and Vedansh, who's primarily gonna be, we're counting him as a batsman for the stocks. Surya, your thoughts on that?
But I think this is certainly out of all of these 5 options, the one I would invest in is certainly Vedant. If like you're saying, oh, I only want to invest in one out of these five, certainly invest in Vedant. Vedant has been arguably the most consistent player in RCC, consistent batting, pretty consistent bowling. And you sort of see he can bat with anybody, like, and especially him with the Dhruv partnership has been really successful in the past few games. I recall like they chased down 65 in the last game in like
Okay.
relatively 3 overs.
Mhm.
Yeah, sort of like something like that. I feel like Vedant is somebody who can bat with anyone and he can also bat well with anyone. So whoever he's paired up with on the opposing side, he can sort of bat well with. And Dhruv being by himself, that chemistry they have, well, by his side, I mean, the chemistry they have, it'll certainly be an advantage for Vedant.
Advantage. Exactly.
Yeah. And he's very consistent. He can hit all places. I think 30 runs, I think he will get to 120 runs in the tournament. So if you just want to invest in one out of these five saying that, oh, two might not be possible with these high pars, I I'd invest all the points into Vedant. Yeah.
So yeah, in total, a team can buy 5 shares per player. Sorry, per player per team. Uh, from category one. So who would you wanna? I mean, from your voice, Surya, 2 players that attract the category one possibly. You said Vedansh, probably one of them. Another one,
Ved Vedant is, I think, sort of Vedant, and I think Rayhan sort of attracts
Rayhan.
attention.
Okay.
Vedant and Rayhan, the two
Okay.
runs.
Okay.
In my opinion, the wickets, if it's like 10 and above, I don't really think, I feel like there's some skeptical because each bowler only bowls 3 overs and you might never know what the situation is in
Okay.
that game for that bowler.
All
So
right.
I feel like wickets is generally one that I wouldn't invest in unless it's like sort of like smaller amount, which you'll get to in category two and three. But 10 wickets and 12 wickets, I feel like it's just a really big par. So
Okay.
the two I would focus on is Rehan, who's really good, consistent, big hitter, and Vedanshu, just consistent overall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jumping onto category two, two deals, Dhruv and Arav. We'll go on to that later,
Mm.
and obviously, talk about yourself, Surya. So, do you think you'll be able to
Yeah,
score any runs in 4 matches?
90 runs in 4 matches. So that's like I can't even do it. How much is it? Like 20 to 25 run par per
About,
game.
yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
See, this is
you. I
also
mean, for batting, it's on you for Trailblazers. So, if it was my
batting
opinion, it would
on
be
me
close.
for now. Yeah, we'll see who we sort of like get. As you know, we recently released Deepish
Okay.
into, so we'll sort of see like if we have a pairing with me.
Okay.
But I feel like me right now on paper, it's not really looking good for the 90 run because as you know that more I've been more accustomed to batting with sort of like a possibly like a more better and more like
Experience.
experienced
Okay.
batsman. Yeah. Like you see me and Vedansh partnership.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's me and Sign partnership. Like sort of like I succeed under sort of like good partnerships if
Okay.
I have good backing up. So I feel like for the 90 runs, it might sort of have to like explore myself, like sort of see if I can sort of like lead a team in batting. Obviously, we'll have to see how Niket goes, if there's gonna be like how me and Niket are gonna open, or if we get somebody else. But I do feel like with our two power ups, we can hopefully get another batsman to sort of back us up.
Back you up.
So
Yeah.
90 runs, I'm obviously not gonna say like it's myself. So it's your choice to invest 50-50. You
Okay.
think if you think I have what it takes to get this far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's about Surya. I mean, right now, completely carrying the Trailblazers, but maybe another supporting batsman might give us chances to, soothe in, get used to the runs and all that. So we'll talk about it in part two, about the next few players. But for now, you heard from part one from Surya. Part two, you'll also hear from Surya as well.